And hello! Over the next couple minutes, we are going to learn about how the government measures the U.S. economy. In a future lesson, you are going to learn about how the U.S. government uses both fiscal policy and monetary policy to affect the economy. We'll talk just a little bit about that in just a few moments. All right, so here we go. Today we're focusing on how we measure the economy. And as you can tell by this chart here, you can see that we're looking at data. We're looking at graphs and charts. And so that'll incorporate a lot of higher order thinking, data analysis skills today. All right, so let's take a look at how the government influences the economy. We know we have a mixed market economy, meaning that we have businesses that are not owned by the government that provide goods and services, hire and fire people, but the U.S. government does have a role. They regulate and they have goals for the U.S. economy. They can affect the economy. The three goals we have for our economy are to keep production levels growing, to maintain steady prices, and to encourage everyone to have a job. And in order to determine if we are actually meeting these goals, the U.S. government uses a bunch of measuring tools to determine if we're doing a good job. And we're going to be looking at those today. All right. In the future lesson, we're going to look at how the data we get helps the government affect the economy. So if we are not doing well, Congress and President can work together to create fiscal policy to help the economy, as well as a separate institution, the Federal Reserve, which is not part of the three branches. It's a bureaucratic, independent regulatory agency that manages and monitors our monetary policy. All right. Something you'll hear me mention a lot as we go through economics is there is no magic wand that anyone possesses to fix the economy, be it a person, a company, or the government. There is no magic, no silver bullet to help the economy get better. What the government can do is create policies that make it easier to meet our three goals, which are keeping production levels going, maintaining steady prices, and making sure everybody has a job. So that's what we're going to focus on with our learning. All right. First thing up is the business cycle. The business cycle is a model of a country's economy over time. There are really two main stages. You have your recession and expansion, though you can have depressions as well and peaks. In a recession, the economy is doing badly, okay? Because many businesses are not making money, many businesses have to lay off their workers. Often large numbers of people are jobless. What happens is the costs of goods and services go down because many people have less money to spend. But when you get to an expansion is when the economy is improving. You have more jobs being created because businesses are earning a lot more money and making businesses, a lot easier for them to grow. The cost of goods and services goes up, not very crazily, but it goes up modestly, which means people have more money to spend. All right. Recession and expansion are the two main concepts you'll look at. When we get to the absolute bottom, a trough or a depression, you'll notice this guy's face. Oh my God, the economy's not doing well. And when we're at a peak economic performance, we have large amounts of people working, companies are making tons of money, and everybody is looking like this guy. All right. I like to incorporate this analogy in helping you understand why we measure the economy. Read it along with me. In sports, we have different statistics that tell us how well a player or team is performing. Based upon this data, we as fans are able to judge if a player or team is excelling or struggling. Well, in economics, we have statistics that tell us how well the country's economy is performing. These statistics include GDP, or the gross domestic product, the consumer price index, or the CPI, and the unemployment rate. Based upon these statistics, the government is able to make and take actions, that's where fiscal and monetary policy come in, to help the economy meet each goal. So today we're going to focus on how we measure the economy, and in a later lesson we'll look at how we actually try to fix how the government tries to make the economy better. First one up, GDP, or gross domestic product. The easiest way to remember what a GDP measures is looking at this word right here. Product, products, stuff, things. GDP measures the total value of all new goods and services produced in the United States. And let's take a look at some data here. So this is data from the United States Department of Commerce, all right, the U.S. government. And what you can see is how the GDP has changed between 2004 and all the way up to 2014, even though it's not listed there. And as you'll notice this gray area right here, all right? What do you think is happening to the economy in this gray area? Well, you'll notice that what's happening to the GDP? It's gone down quite a bit. Remember, if the GDP is going down, what does that tell us about our economy? You're right, it means we're in a recession. Now, since 2009, you'll notice what trend has happened to GDP. What trend do you notice here? Yep, for the most part, the GDP has been increasing, and that tells us that our economy is slowly improving. All right, so you can see how some of the concepts we learned previously apply here. Let's take a look at the Consumer Price Index. The key word to remember here is price. Price. The CPI measures how much money people are spending on goods and services. What the CPI tells us, it tells us what is happening to inflation levels. Inflation is the increase in the price of goods. The opposite of inflation is deflation. All right, you'll notice once again we have data measuring the CPI from 2004 all the way up to 2014. You'll notice in this gray area, you'll notice what is happening to the CPI right here. What happened right there? Well, you'll notice it was going up and then sharp decline. When the CPI goes down that much, that tells us we are in a recession. And as you'll notice right here, between 2008 and part of 2009, we were in a recession. Remember, the GDP went down, CPI also went down. So when the GDP goes down, when the CPI goes down, you know, and I know, that the economy is likely in a recession. But you'll notice since the end of 2009, what's happened to the CPI? Yep, it has gone up, meaning our economy has been improving. Now you might be thinking to yourself, isn't it good to have lower prices? Why do we want to pay more? Well, the problem is that if prices are too low, that means companies are not making lots of money, and that means they're usually laying people off. However, if companies are hiring lots of people, people have more money to spend, people are going out and spending their money, prices will go up. Not a lot, but at a steady pace. And a steady increase in pricing is a good thing for our economy. Let's take a look at how inflation works. Here you have the title of the chart. It says U.S. all grades, all formulations, retail gas prices. So these are retail gas prices, dollars per gallon. So these are dollars, and then these are years. All right. Remember, when you look at a chart, you want to look at what are the titles telling you. And you'll notice for 1 gallon of gasoline, the price in 1994 was about $1. At the end of 2010, 2011, the price was over $3.50. So the question 1 asks, did you have to spend more or less over time to get the same amount of gasoline? Remember, this is the amount of money for 1 gallon. So did you have to spend more or less? Yep, you're right. you had to spend a lot more to get the same amount of a good. Now, the second question, this is the one that requires a little bit more thinking. What happened to the value of your dollar? Did it gain or lose power over time? Remember, you spent $1, 1 gallon. 2012, 2011, you're spending $3.50 for the same 1 gallon. Well, if you're spending more to get the same amount, the value is going down because you have to use a lot more to get the same amount of goods. And as you know, gas prices, when the gas prices go up, it has a huge effect not only on the country's economy, but on individuals' economies. Because if you got to pay more for gas, that means you're going to have to not pay for other things. And that's how it affects the rest of the economy, but that's for a later video. All right, this is a political cartoon that the government HSA loves to use. As you can see, you see Uncle Sam here, and he's trying to fix the country's inflation problems. And look at what he's doing to fix inflation. What are these guys here? These scissors here. Do you think these scissors are enough to fix the inflation problems that are having an effect on the country? Of course not. According to this cartoonist, Uncle Sam does not have the necessary tools to fix the country's inflation problems. This is an old cartoon. All right, let's compare inflation with deflation. And this is a great political cartoon that shows it. Inflation, prices rise faster than your income. This is the stuff you buy at the grocery store. And take a look at this guy's face. Does this guy look happy about the really crazy increase in price of goods? Absolutely not. When you have deflation, prices fall. But remember when we said when prices fall, that's not always a good thing. That means businesses aren't making lots of money. And if businesses aren't making lots of money, businesses often provide pink slips to their employees. Now, if you don't know what a pink slip is an expression that means you're fired. All right. So in inflation, prices are too high, people are paying too much for goods, and in deflation, businesses aren't making any money. Therefore, prices fall and they have to fire and get rid of a lot of their employees. The last little concept you have to know, it to me is the easiest one, the unemployment rate. And remember, when you put the prefix un in front of a word, that means not. All right. So what this statistic measures is the percentage of jobless people who are actively searching for a job. And that's important because the unemployment rate does not include people who have given up and stopped looking. Take a look at this data. Once again, you'll notice that between 2008 and 2009, you see this gray color here. This indicates we were in a recession. Take a look at what happened to the unemployment rate during this time. Yeah, it went up substantially. And as you know, and as you can probably figure out, if you have lots and lots of people unemployed, what does that mean? That means they're not making money, and if they're not making money, they're not spending the money, and if they're not spending money, businesses aren't able to earn a lot of money to hire more people, and the cycle of recession continues. Now you'll notice between 2009 and currently, what happens, what types of trends do you see in the unemployment rate? Yep, it's gone down quite a bit. Maybe not as fast as some politicians would like, but the economy and the unemployment rate has gotten a lot better. All right, let's sum everything up. So in a recession, businesses are shrinking. The GDP is going down. Companies aren't selling a lot of goods and services. What happens to prices? They usually either stay the same or decrease. And because they decrease, the CPI often decreases. And finally, because prices are going down, because businesses aren't able to stay open, lots of workers can lose their jobs, and when lots of workers lose their jobs, the unemployment rate often goes up. However, in an expansion, yay, businesses tend to grow, make lots of money, and when businesses grow, you have lots of goods and services being purchased, therefore GDP goes up. As GDP goes up, the prices go up, and if prices are going up at a steady pace, not too much, the CPI, or the Consumer Price Index, increases. And when you have businesses growing, prices increasing, companies are able to hire new people, and when companies hire new people, the unemployment rate decreases. Remember, what we learned about today is why and how we measure the economy. We use GDP, CPI, and the unemployment rate to determine how well our country's economy is performing. In a future lesson, we're going to look at how the government uses fiscal policy and monetary policy to help the economy get out of recessions. I hope this was helpful. Along with this video, there is a reading that goes with the questions you will need to answer. These two resources should make you much more intelligent when it comes to how the U.S. government measures the economy. Until next time, this is Mr. Shulman saying adios.